Yeah,
So my name is Luke Angstadt. This is
of course.
my podcast and Peter's podcast. It's knowledge called Knowledge Wars. I am the author of the book, The Musings of De La Pew, which is a 20-year investigation into the nature of reality, the nature of existence, the universe, God, human beings, the relationship between all of them. You will find links to Amazon in the description page to this video. I'm here with my co-host Peter Rusevic. We're on a roll here today. We're discussing alchemy and spiritual transformation, and most recently, where the conversation left off was we were dealing with shape shifting and talking about Cathy O'Brien, who was the author of the book Transformation of America, which was quite popular in the 1990s. And I think she did some interviews with David Icke, or David Icke sat down with she and David Icke had a correspondence, and David wrote about her experiences at length with shape shifting and they say the global satanic rings that were all over the planet, and she managed to get out of it, and she described in great detail these reptilian hybrid shapeshifters, and there are a lot of correlations to the anthropologist Carlos Castaneda and his teachings of Don Juan in the 1960s, and that's kind of where we left off. Peter was sharing some of the details from Cathy O'Brien's story on shapeshifting and how we all have the potential to shapeshift, and it's in our DNA, and a lot of this has been intentionally locked up with the 94 to 97% of our DNA that people erroneously refer to as junk DNA. So Peter, so before we get too far ahead, I want you to introduce yourself to our audience as well, and you'll find links to both of our books on Amazon in the description page to these videos. So Peter, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we will pick up with where we left off.
Yeah, he's lying. I'm Luke Angstadt, and he's Peter.
I'm Peter Rusevic.
Yeah, and I'm Luke Angstadt.
The jig is up.
It doesn't have necessarily to be unveiled in front of the eyes of our audience, because they have to be, intentionally kept in the truth deprivation. They have to be kept in the ignorance about our own true identity, right? Okay, so I'm Peter Rozovic, or the PR of this show, and I'm the co-author of the books present in Amazon: Nikola Tesla, Third Reich, the Extraterrestrials, the Occulture, and the Mythologies of Techno World. And the Global Conspirator. We're not the theoreticians of the global conspiracy. We are the practitioners of the conspiracy, because this what Luke and I are doing is a conspiracy. We're having a conspiracy.
We conspire for good. I mean, that's what I mean. People get wrapped up with the word conspiracy. They say, I mean, people that don't believe the CIA invented that term to discredit and ridicule anybody who disagreed with the Warren Commission and the magic bullet, and anybody disagreed that Lee Harvey Oswald was some lone nutter who killed JFK, when obviously nothing remotely true came out of the Warren Commission. And anybody said, hey, wait a second, this sounds really fishy. It's like, no, let's demonize them and demonize the word conspiracy, as if people don't conspire, as if it's not in human nature to conspire. I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, tell me another one.
Well, yeah, whenever...
like demonizing the word breathing. It's like demonizing the word putting one foot in front of the other. It's like, let's demonize that phrase. Oh, I see a guy over there, he's putting one foot in front of the other. Woo! I mean, but that's how they play this game, right?
Well, exactly. And whenever 2 or 3 are present in a room like we are now, it can be called a conspiracy in front of the others, right? Before the audience. Okay, so we are doing the conspiracy right now. Yeah. That's the annotation for our dear audience. This is the conspiracy, so come to join us.
Please do.
Yeah.
And, so, Peter, before we were talking about shape-shifting, and when you were discussing Cathy O'Brien's experiences in the satanic cult and the shape-shifting that she was witness to, and how, a lot of other people who have escaped from these satanic death cults have told strikingly similar stories. I mean, people that don't know each other, they didn't conspire. I mean, they were, I mean, separate. I mean, how many individual thousands of of individuals relaying details from these satanic death cults and witnessing the shapeshifting, people that never met each other, but they're telling the exact same story. But the one that was probably maybe one of the more famous ones from the 1990s was Cathy O'Brien.
Oh yeah. Can you give me a second, please?
Oh, sure. All right, Peter. So we're back. We had a little interlude there. You had to help your wife with some groceries in the house. But so we were kind of in the middle of the conversation with Cathy O'Brien and shape shifting before we had our brief little
Okay.
pause.
Yeah. Before we do our own shape shifting, we have to put a little bit of the theorizing about the subject.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is that
Hi, look.
Hello.
Can you see me?
I can.
Hey, look, can you see us?
I can see you. Yes. Can you see me?
Yeah. Yeah. I can see you, although I'm having just.
All right. So we're recording again.
Okay, so we're back.
We were talking about Cathy O'Brien and the shape shifting.
Exactly. And later on, we'll be talking about the healing process of Cathy O'Brien and whoever was in charge to deal with the serious trauma, because there is, nevertheless, those are the good news for our audience, for anybody who is affected or inflicted by any kind of a serious trauma during his or her incarnation. There is, nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, there is the proven and approved and genuine way of removing any kind of trauma, and it's called the Dianetics. But before we skip to that, let's stick to Cathy O'Brien, our acquaintance. And yeah, according to her own statement, and that has been quoted in David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret, as you remember, it's been described that right in front of her eyes, instantaneously, within a matter of a few seconds or half a minute, a person who was a human has transformed itself into a gigantic lizard, which is one of the representatives of the reptilian race, which mostly, as well as we know, dwell and thrive in the Zeta Reticuli stellar system, which, if memory serves me correctly, it doesn't even matter how it's just from this planetary system, because this is the reference point from our point of view.
It's just a different frequency. I mean, they exist. They vibrate at a different frequency, right? I mean, they are like a fourth dimensional. I mean, it's just a different dial. It's just a different dial, or a different station on the dial on the radio. I mean, it really is just a frequency that coexists with ours right here. But these shapeshifters, and a lot of them are reptilian hybrids that have we get into like the royal bloodlines. I mean, obviously with the genetic manipulation and how these reptilians have mated with the humans, and this even goes back to chapter 6 of Genesis, when the sons of God came down from heaven and mated with the earthly women. I mean, we're talking about interbreeding, so this has been going on even long before the biblical story. But I mean, right, Peter? I mean, these people exist at a different frequency. I mean, they vibrate at a different frequency.
That's correct.
And prior to the takeover or the hijacking of the human genome or human genetics, and prior to our DNA being turned in 94 to 97% of it being turned off, I mean, we were able to interact with them and see them and perceive them before this hijacking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's as it has been described in Zechariah Sitchin's books, right? Among the others.
Yeah.
And let's say, since we know that we're limited by the very low range of the
visible light that we
the visible light is 0.3 way up to 0.9, and it's a very low amount of, I mean, we sometimes perceive something differently than it is in the so-called reality. Let's stick to so-called because it's so cold outside, and it's so-called reality because, you know, there is the matrix, and we know this is not the ultimate reality. This is one of the realms. It has the local gravity, which is a luxury in the rest of the visible cosmos. And it's organized differently, but it can be reshaped because there are the tools and gadgets to reshape that. So whoever has put it this way can easily undo it. And even certain individuals are capable to maintain and to deal with changes in their own local environment, like we were coping with the raindrops, you know, 10 minutes ago. So we eventually succeeded to remove the rain, and that's for the next session. I'm serious, yeah.
No, I agree, and we're talking specifically about the demiurge, right? Who made this? This cheap imitation.
Yeah, but even the individuals who are not even the adepts, that's the highest ranked esoteric connoisseur in the magus, let's say, the knowledge bearer, the keeper, even the lower positioned ones can expurge the raindrops, you know, and prevent falling onto certain area, like the DARPA, as you've previously mentioned before the recording. And okay, so since we're limited by our very low visual sight and the insights, therefore we sometimes perceive something differently than it is. So the reptilians are very cunning, and they are very capable to take another form of a human animal, let's say. So the skull of the human was slightly and instantly transforming more and more on into a lizard's facial expression, right? So it was becoming more elongated, and the eyes were uptaking another position in the skull. So the tongue was looking very much alike the snake's, the serpent's one. And
these reptilians, they have no imagination and no creative power. They're just able to manipulate, and that's what I mean. The demiurge, I think, is even reptilian, because the demiurge can't create anything; it just manipulates. I mean, it can't create anything original. It creates a faulty copy, and that same principle applies to the reptilians. I mean, they have no they have no imagination, no creative powers. I mean, they aren't artists at all, but they can manipulate anything.
Oh yeah, because they are capable of mimetically imitating the realm and the particularities within their realm around themselves. That was probably the smartest statement that we've had in this show, that that they are not creative at all. That was a very deep and profound insight, and I thank you for that, because whenever we have to do those things, the insights, and the animations to our audience, because that's what is keeping our show alive and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so the forehead was transforming as well. So she was in a state of shock, and she wasn't subdued to any uh, violent psychoactive substance usage or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It came up in a clear, conscious state of mind. So the person who was shape shifting in front of her eyes, sitting in a large cozy chair, maybe in the Oval Room. I ain't sure about that because it was a long time ago. But somewhere close to that person was some of those ones who were running our country.
Oh yeah, I mean that's no make no doubt about it. These reptilians have infiltrated all government.
Home of the brave and free.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, not just the United States. I mean, you name it: Great Britain, Israel, probably Russia. I mean, all of them. I mean, they've infiltrated all the governments at the state and national level.
Well, yeah. Definitely. And probably the only part of this planetary system where they did not successfully bring their tentacles in is the Eastern and Central Asia, and the parts that are covered up by something that is called Buddhism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably this is the only realm which isn't captured by and isn't caught by the reptilian race. I mean, I don't see any, but in the Chinese culture, there is a lot of dragons.
My religion choice is Buddhism, because Buddhism doesn't have horrible justice.
Oh yeah, the judgment. My wife just said there ain't no judgment day in Buddhism, so therefore that's my I fly with it. I stayed for, and this is my religious choice. And I've talked to a very smart person who was an esoteric doctor a month ago. And we've concluded in that restaurant that the Christianity or the Christendom is just one simplified form of Buddhism, which is the truth. Has just been reduced to the more the simpler levels. Okay, but let's just get back to Cathy O'Brien. So there is there is that energetic and vibratory levels shift. It comes up instantly by the mediation of will, which is capable of switching the DNA, encrypt, the encrypted code. So due to that change that occurs, what emerges out of the body system is a completely different shape and form. So it can be reversibly turned into the previous one, and they can switch it that way. But she was often raped, by many, by the men, right?
It's horrible what they did to her and her daughter too. I mean, they groomed her daughter.
Yeah, and I know, of course, we know by whom, but we're not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it's just at this point,
because it's not that poignant, and it's pointless, because we want to make friendship with everybody, not to make the inimical relationship and creative foes. They're smart. We want to avoid that. I mean, you can know anything, but you don't mention everything, right?
Yeah.
You're smart. And even I'll just name Brian Malarani. It was Johnny B's friend, and it was also a part of it. But Dick Cheney. I mean, they had to. I just but
no, Dick Cheney. I mean, no, Dick Cheney is a pederast. That's what he is. He's a child molester. and he's a pederast. It's what he is. People need to hear. That's what George Bush, Father George Bush was one of the biggest child molesters in the history of this country, the history of the world. That's what they are, right? I mean, we might lose some friends here, Peter, but tough titty on that one. I mean, but that's what's going on here, right?
Yeah, of course. But last
you really got to chew that steak to swallow it. But you know what? That's just the way it is. And there's so much evidence to support that. I'm not talking out my ass, and you and I both know that, and people that know that.
Yeah, but we've got the more reputed friends whose inner strength and spiritual power, and even the military power, is increasing and enhancing and emphasizing day after day, and those are called the white spiritual brotherhood that were just mentioned before. So they are incomparably much powerful and mightier than the fellas that I've just mentioned, the rapists and child molesters and pederasts and so on. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe not for Dick Cheney. I have to write him an email to apologize.
Yeah, right. No, he's a known child molester and rapist, Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to being just an absolutely reprehensible human. Well, I mean, he's a reprehensible human being among so many other things. But no, he's a child molester and a rapist.
Yeah.
As is President George Bush, the first one. Yeah.
Maybe he was a dick.
Yeah, they both were. Yeah.
Not like Philip K. But maybe he would. Maybe Cheney was a dick.
It's inconceivably heinous.
Oh yeah. And okay, but as we.
But back to Cathy O'Brien. I didn't lose too many people here. Yeah,
she was altered by the mediation of the three books: Alice in Wonderland, the Mighty Wizard of Oz, and Peter Pan. Rarely. And of course, it was very hard to decompose and to decipher and to decode all of those encrypted codes that were extremely negative, because she was literally programmed like a robot or like a character in a video game to act exactly like it's been put in the algorithm. So several of the benevolent, esotericists and the military corps, which do not match with Michael Aquino. That's the other side, of course. He was a parachute, section member and so on, the founder of the Temple of Seth. So they were brave enough and smart enough and humane enough to decode, everything that has been encrypted into her psyche. So eventually she has cured it. And the good news are that there is the discipline, the mental control discipline, which is called the Dianetics. And that has been named after L. Ron Hubbard's wife, Diana. And I mean, not Diana, but Diana. It's not an imperative. So, and why is that extremely useful? Because you can literally erase any kind of a trauma that was kept persistently into one's psyche for the entire decades. And I think we have to mention that probably tomorrow in our next show.
Because we're at about a minute here, Peter. I don't know if you can see the timer up in the upper left-hand corner, just so we don't get cut off here. But
I can do this. It's 1-3. It's 1-3.
Yeah, we're under a minute now, so we have less than 1 minute left. So it's probably a good place to wrap it up for today and to be continued.
Perfect.
We'll pick up with the Dianetics.
Definitely, because
when we pick up next time,
helpful. You can erase any kind of a traumatic experience.
That's a great place to pick up the conversation. So, all right, Peter. So we have 3 done today, and I will be getting those up probably tomorrow. But this was great.
Why not be here? I'm so happy to be continuing this with you.
I am too. So hey, I will see you. I will see you soon.
Okay, I will see you, my friend.
All right, I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.